Haribol, Haribol. Dandavat pranams to everybody. Welcome, welcome to another session of Jaiva Dharma. So today is the 24th of May, Friday, 2024. And we'll have a kirtan, and then we'll discuss the glories of one of Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati's great disciples, Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj. We'll discuss his glories briefly, and then we'll carry on with our Jaiva Dharma. But we'll have a kirtan first. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Aradhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda O Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, O Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, O Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Nittai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jai Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura, O Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavi Girihare, Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Bharishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Vaishnav Sabhabhoma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Srila Baladev Vidibhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai, Jai Rasik Siromani Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai, Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bharata Saraganath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai, Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parasada Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Siga Holsi Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Antadvip, Mayapur, Simantadvip, Gautram Dvip, Madhya Dvip, Kola Dvip, Ritudvip, Janadvip, Motam Dvip, Rudradvip, Atmaka Navadvip, Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvarasavad Matmika, Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kund, Shama Kund, Ganga Jamuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Shrimati Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Ketra Mandal Ki Jai, Sarava Vigna Vinasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Charidham Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Acharya Ki Jai, Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagat Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Zarati Swapadantikam Priya Swarupe, Daita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahajavi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartano Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundara Tutikatamba Sadipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam pravajantam anapetyam apeti krityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putreti tam mayatayo taravo binidustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay shiptascha karmadita rangamadye kripa mayitvam sharanam prapana brinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravinda netram Smarami radham madhurashmitasyam Vadami radham karuna baradram Tato mamanasti katyana kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina Iti vignaya radhe tvam nayam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya, Satchidanandanamane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Vrayate, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varya, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So today is another very auspicious day. It's the Tirobhava of Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj. Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj was a greatly empowered disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. It's described that when he actually joined the Math, he was working for the railways, and he had a reasonable income, etc. from that work. He was from a very Pakka Brahmin family. His name was Atul Chandra Bandapodaya. That was his name. And he came to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and fully surrendered unto his lotus feet. And he would serve initially Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati by collecting good donations. He would wear his coat, it's described, and pants. He would look very smart. He was a Brahmana. And he would go to the different houses and he would sell the Gaudiya magazine from the Chaitanya Math. And there are many different pastimes described about his boldness. Once, for example, he came to one man's house, and a wealthy man, and the man came to the door, and he answered the door himself. He didn't send a servant to answer the door. He answered the door himself. And he said to Atul Chandra, was his name, that is Bhakti Saranga's initial name, Atul Chandra. He told him, I have no faith in the Gaudiya Math. I don't want to give any donations. And Atul Chandra, he just brushed past him and walked into the house. And then again, this man said, a little irritated now, he said, I've just told you I have no faith in the Gaudiya Math. I don't believe in them. And then Atul Chandra, he just walked into the front room and sat down on a chair and made himself comfortable. And again, this man, third time, now very irritated, said, I have no faith in the Gaudiya Math. Why are you coming in like this? And Atul Chandra said very calmly, I know, I heard you the first time, you have no faith, and I've come to give you that faith. And then for the next half hour, he preached so boldly and so clearly and so authentically, this man's heart completely melted. He was an intelligent man, obviously, so his intelligence had been appealed to by Atul Chandra. And then he offered Atul Chandra a large donation. Atul Chandra said, "No, I won't take it. You come with me to my master, Srila Bhakti Saranaga, and you place it directly in his hands." So the man agreed, and together they went to the Gaudiya Math. This was in Kolkata. And this man, he gave 500 rupees, which in those days was a lot of money, directly into the hands of Srila Bhakti Saranaga. And then this man would come regularly to the Math. From then on, he was a regular participant in the festivals, etc. So this is an example of the boldness of Atul Chandra. There's another anecdote, story, that Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj tells. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj is the one I feel very much indebted to, because he has told us that if we don't glorify these personalities, it amounts to an offense on their appearance and disappearance days. So he impressed this so strongly within us, and now we follow it regularly. And I'm personally appreciating that by hearing about these personalities, it puts us in touch with our Gaudiya history, and we see the greatness and extraordinary stature of these young men who came to the camp of Srila Bhakti Saranaga and inaugurated this Gaudiya mission as we know it today. Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, etc., they had initiated this current of of Sachinandan Gaurahari in Bengal, and then Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu, they perpetuated that current. And then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was also contributing. And then there was 100 years of when the preaching wasn't very strong. And it was basically with Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and especially his son Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who began to propagate this preaching all over Bengal. So many great young men came to his camp, impressed by his very bold preaching. And Atul Chandra, he could never tolerate the slightest offense to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And once a magistrate came to the program in Kanpur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was preaching in Kanpur, and one magistrate came and he said to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, "It seems that all you do is collect wealthy young men and turn them into mendicants." But he said it in a very rude way. And then he got up and left. And when Atul Chandra came back from his collections, he heard this occurrence that had happened. And he heard Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was feeling not happy with that situation, because he didn't have a chance to speak to the magistrate. So straight away, Atul Chandra went to the house of that magistrate, and he informed that magistrate in a very strong, bold manner that 14 generations of his descendants would suffer in hell for the offense he'd committed to such a stalwart Vaishnava as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But this person, Atul Chandra Bandyopadhyaya, was a very Pakka Brahmin. And we know from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he told us one time he'd never told a lie in his life. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj said this about himself. And this is the nature of a real Brahmin. They cannot lie. That is not in their DNA, so to speak. They can't lie. So therefore their words have great potency, and people will listen to them, especially here in India when a Brahmana speaks the words. they can hear, they understand. So when Atul Chandra told this magistrate he would suffer for 14 generations in hell unless he came to the lotus feet and apologized to Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati, this magistrate became very afraid. He tried to give a large donation, 10,000 rupees, to Atul Chandra. Atul Chandra again wouldn't take it. He said, "No, you come with me to my master." And the magistrate came and gave the donation into the hands of Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati, apologized profusely, and that man would always be favorable from then on to the Vaishnavas and devotees of Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati. So these are just a couple of past stories, pastimes about Atul Chandra. He went to the West preaching for a while. He, at the insistence of his god brothers, later on he built a mutt. He didn't want to build a mutt. He said, "All my god brothers have sufficient mutts." But at the insistence of his god brothers, he did procure some land, but he said he was procuring this land so that demonic people wouldn't buy this land in the future and disturb the Vaishnavas. And we see today how this prophecy actually came true, that demonic people do buy land in this holy Dham of Mayapur, Navadvip. So he bought that land. It's described how Atul Chandra was an incredibly principled personality. He would never take any type of conveyance in the holy Dham. As soon as the rickshaw or the train or whatever he was traveling from outside of the Dham reached the holy Dham, he would immediately get down and walk. He did this his whole life. He only walked. Once he was offered a cycle rickshaw when cycle rickshaws were first introduced, he adamantly refused. So he had this nature, this very dharmic, strict tendency, which made him an incredible, potent preacher of Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati. When he arrived first in the mutt, Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati said, "Oh, my Mahaprabhu has sent this man directly," because when Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati was performing his great Harinam Vrat, he had a darshan of the Panchatattva, and they informed him that they would support his mission to inaugurate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings very strongly into Bengal. So whenever any great devotee came, then Srila Bhakti Saranaga Saraswati would make this comment. So Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj was certainly one of these personalities. And it's very wonderful to hear these pastimes and descriptions of these people. And personally, I would not have been speaking about this person unless Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj had given that directive. And by doing this every week, every month, on all these different appearance and disappearance days, we definitely get into contact with our historical roots. And it's very healthy for us to appreciate the potency of these personalities in the past that have created this movement of Mahaprabhu today. So it was built on the strength of these great, powerful devotees at that time. So Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. And if any of you haven't got that book by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, my beloved masters, I'm sure you can get it online, or you can perhaps even find a PDF of it. If anyone finds a PDF, please send me. I don't have a PDF copy to send everybody, but it's very much, this book is quite popular now, and it contains about 25, 30 great stalwart disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. My Beloved Masters by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. So very, very beautiful contribution to our Gaudiya lineage. So Srila Bhakti Saranaga Goswami Maharaj Ki, his Tirobhava, his disappearance day today. So now we come to our Jaiva dharma study, and we're into the first 5 verses of the Falshruti, and then we'll resume our 19th chapter discussing bhakti.
Pritivite yatakata dharma namachali bhagavata kahishava paripurna chale.
As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive. Incredibly potent statement in the first verse of his Falshruti. He's, as I said before, he's reminding us, bringing in, substantiating the entirety of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse, Dharma Projita Kaitavatra Parama Nirmatsharanam Shatam. This is the second verse. And this is proclaiming how this Bhagavatam is not a cheating process. And these four Purusarthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, actually constitute cheating the jiva out of his essential highest possibility, which is Nitya Prem. It's giving him these four practically mundane Purusarthas, Dharma, Artha, Karma, and Moksha. These are all nimitic. They don't cross over the Viraja river. They don't cross into transcendence. These four Purusarthas.
Chade dharma chadikara satya dharma mati chatuvargya tyaji dara nitya prema gati.
One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas, deceptive because they're nimitic, and absorb his mind in true dharma, nitya dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life: dharma, artha, karma, moksha. So we see the foundation of Indian society, this Varnashram system, is very much placed these four Purusarthas in the forefront of the establishment in the Varnashram system. But actually they are nimitic, they're not eternal. So we should not over-endeavor for these qualities, we can say. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these paths, these Purusarthas. And we should aspire solely for the ultimate destination of Nitya Prem. Very powerful, first two verses.
Amitvame mamsa brahme nija jade buddhi nirvishesha brahm jnana ichira shuddhi.
Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified by such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm gyan. So we covered all this very deeply in the Jiva Tattva section. The Jiva Tattva, Jiva bound by Maya and Jiva's liberated. This 15th, 16th and 17th chapter very much gave us this Siddhanta very, very clearly, without any shadow of doubts here.
Ivichitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy kala samatulya seya aprakrita noy.
The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm, this voidistic Shunyavad mentality, where the Swarup, the very identity of the soul, is annihilated, where it's reduced just to a speck, an atom of light. But it still, as I've said before, is serving the Supreme, because that's its Nitya Dharma. And that tiny speck of light is adding to Krishna's effulgence and enhancing Krishna's Brahma Jyoti. Rupa Goswami explains like this in the Laghu Bhavanamrita, that the Jiva's constitution as Jiva Swarup Hoy, Krishna and Nityadas, cannot be destroyed because it's eternal. So even if he destroys his individual Swarupa, nature and characteristic mood of service to the Lord, he can't destroy his essential that essential service to the Lord, because it's eternal. So in any situation, he's still actually serving the Lord. But how tragic to be reduced to an impersonal speck of light, without characteristics, without this ivichrata, without these appreciation of these astonishing leelas. Therefore, no sambandha, no relationship, no sweetness at all, just shantaras, neutrality, nothing. And so many are going that route because they become frustrated with life, material life, and they consider that the option then is just to merge into the Brahmajyoti, emerge into that Nirvishesh Brahm. So many apparently spiritual schools or quasi societies of spiritual schools, yogi societies, etc., they're proposing this, that the jiva annihilate his essential characteristic of bringing pleasure to Krishna through his relationship with Krishna.
Kande jnana hoya dharma ache sunishchaya prakriti hoila kabu aprakritanaya. Such base and contemptible jnana, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakritam. In other words, the gentle Vaishnava devotees must not become confused about what is Siddhanta, what is Tattva and Siddhanta. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us this conclusively. He's taken all the amnaya, all the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Upanishads, the Smriti, the Shruti, all the Puranas, all the scriptures, and he's condensed them into giving us this one very simple, actually, in one sense, book, granta, where everything has been described from top to bottom. What is bhakti? What is the nature of Krishna? What is the nature of the jiva? What is their relationship between each other? And what is achintya bheda bheda abheda tattva? Chintya bheda abheda tattva. What is this astonishing relationship between Krishna and the jiva? And what is the sadhana to attain realization of the Amala Prem Seva, which is the ultimate goal, this priti. So these 9 prameyas is what we're unpacking at the moment, going through this Dasmula Tattva. So now we've reached the 19th chapter, and this chapter is about bhakti. It's about sadhana. What is sadhana? So we've discussed already the pivotal verse, Anyavilasata Shunyam, and then we've discussed yesterday, we unpacked the meaning of this verse, Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lakuta Krit Sadulaba Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Jasa. This verse we went through very carefully. Each word we described yesterday. So now we've come to page 437, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Babaji, is just explaining now at this point that logic and rationale have no place in the realm of Shuddha Bhakti. As soon as we start to use logic and rationale, it's like mental speculation starts to come in, and we lose connection with the essential current of bhakti. And we do this with logic and rationale out of fear of the truth. The truth is sublime, soft, gentle, sweet. Bhakti Devi. She's very sacred, special. But we run from there and we take shelter of the intellect, thinking that that will help me cross this line into transcendence. This is what we're going to discuss. So Brajanath says at the end of that comment, I'll read the last sentence on page 437 of the paragraph underneath the verse, which starts, then it is also said, Taraka Pratishtanat. So at the end of that paragraph, it's saying, all these statements of the Vedanta establish that logic cannot explain spiritual matters. We must be very, very clear on, because there are so many brilliant scholars in the world, and they will be able to quote from Shastra extensively, and they will be able to present so many wonderful, novel, fascinating ideas and conceptions. But if there's no current of bhakti, if they don't have realization of the bhakti, what do we say? The Tasmat Guru Prabhatyeta Jigna Shusre Utman Shabde Pare Tanishnantam Brahmani Upashamashrayam. These three qualities of the pure devotee we must look for. The first is that he must be fully conversant with all the scriptures. That's the first quality. And the second, most important, he must be realized in these truths. And the third, all three of these have to be present in the pure spiritual master. And the third is most important, that he must be totally, utterly detached from everything in this material world. This is what we can see easily in our experience of meeting somebody. We can tell, surely within a short while, how attached and how detached they are from the material world. So this is the symptom of a pure devotee. He knows knowledge, he has knowledge, and he's realized in that knowledge, and he's utterly detached from everything in the material world. So this is the pure devotee. These are the uttam or madhyam uttam bhaktas that we're searching for their association. We have to be clear on this, tattva and siddhanta. So now Brajanath is asking, is there any stage of bhakti when sudden bhakti, is there any stage of bhakti between sudden bhakti and prema bhakti? So this was the last thing we read yesterday. Babaji, yes, certainly. There are three stages of development of bhakti: sudden bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. So we've also spoken about this many times. Brajanath, what are the characteristics of sudden bhakti? So now we're going to start walking through it carefully. Babaji, bhakti is one. The differences are between the different stages of development. Bhakti is one, devotion is one, but there are stages of development of that bhakti. As long as bhakti is performed by the conditioned jiva by means of his senses, it is called sudden bhakti. If we're using the material senses, it's called sadhan bhakti. It hasn't entered the heart region. It hasn't become internalized. Brajanath, you have explained that prema bhakti is an eternally perfect mood, nitya siddha bhav. So why is it necessary to practice in order to attain a sentiment that is eternally perfect? So we have the beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Surachita Korya Udai. And this is saying that this Shuddha Bhakti is an eternal reality within the heart of the jiva, and it cannot be woken up by sadhan. It can only be woken up ultimately by shravanam and kirtan under the guidance of a pure devotee, under the guidance of someone who has already realized this truth. I'll read you the exact translation. Krishna Prem is a potentiality which eternally exists in the hearts of the living entities. It is not brought about by sadhan. It manifests itself by the mercy of a Nitya Siddha Guru in the heart purified by sadhan. The performance of the various limbs of bhakti, such as Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Korya Udai. This is saying exactly the same that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here. Babaji, Nitya Siddha Bhav is not actually something to be gained from elsewhere, sadhya. That is, it cannot be produced by sadhan. I was listening to my Srila Gurudev today, and he was saying, sadhan bhakti is not as important as your relationship with your guru. You can do copious amounts of sadhan, but if you don't have a tight, close relationship with your guru, your sadhan bhakti is going to be quite minimal. It's not going to be of great value. This is what he was saying. I was listening in one Vilap Kusumanjali lecture this morning. My Gurudev is saying, sadhan is not so important. What is most important is actually your relationship with Guru. But at the same time, Guru wants us to perform sadhan. The sadhan must be performed to attain bhav. We'll describe. I'll start from the beginning. Babaji is saying, Nitya Siddha Bhav is not actually something to be gained from elsewhere, sadhya. That is, it cannot be produced by sadhan. Sadhan is a name given to the practice of manifesting bhav in the heart. As long as it is not manifested in the heart due to being covered by ignorance, etc., one will have to perform sadhan. In reality, this bhav is nitya siddha, eternally present in the heart. We also say, kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhavsa sadhanabhida, nitya siddhyasya bhavasya prakatamriti sadhyate. Rupa Goswami has said like this, that in order to achieve bhav, which is an eternal truth within the heart of the jiva, in potential. It's there in potential. It's like a seed. It's in potential. It needs nourishing by the water of hearing and kirtan, shravanadi. By hearing and kirtan, this will nourish the seed of bhakti within the heart. And it starts with that sadhan. But the sadhan must be focused on bhav bhakti to be a reality. If the sadhan bhakti is not focused on bhav bhakti, and again, my Gurudev has said this so many times, that your sadhan amounts to zero. If it's not actually being focused on bhav bhakti, what then is the focus of our sadhan? Obviously, some material desires are there if it's not being focused on bhav. So all of our practice must be focused on bhav bhakti. And then the question, of course, will come, what is bhav bhakti? This will be discussed. Certainly, Brajanath, the top of page 438. Brajanath, will you please explain this principle more elaborately? Babaji, certainly Prema Bhakti is Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect, because it is a manifestation of Bhagavan's internal Shakti. But it is not evident in the heart of the conditioned jiva. It's there in potential. Spiritual practice, sadhan, consists of the efforts of the body, mind, and speech to make it appear in the heart. It's already in the heart, but to make it appear in the heart. The sadhan is going to help that make it appear in the heart. As long as bhav is not actually attained during the period of sadhan, it is considered a sentiment that is achieved by practice. A sentiment, not a reality. But its eternal perfection becomes evident as soon as it manifests itself in the heart. So this sadhan is to bring us into the stage of bhav within the heart. This feeling of deep attraction, attachment to service to the Lord. Becoming more and more attracted to the Lord. Not, in other words, not just performing ritualistic acts like robots. Just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, not thinking what we're doing. Just going to the temple, having full of material desires, etc. Not really knowing what we're doing. Not really knowing what our goal is. We must know clearly what is the sadhya, what is the goal. and then our sadhana will have some success. Brajanath, what is the distinguishing characteristic feature of sadhana? Babaji, sadhana bhakti is any method that trains the mind to become Krishna conscious. So this is the first step. Any method that trains the mind to become Krishna conscious. Beautiful statement. Brajanath, how many kinds of sadhana bhakti are there? Babaji, there are two kinds, Vaidhi and Raganuga. Brajanath, what is Vaidhi bhakti? Babaji, the jiva's spiritual propensity is manifest in two ways. The regulations found in the codes of Shastra are called vidhi, and the inclination that has its origin in this vidhi is called Vaidhi pravritti, the tendency to follow Shastra. And bhakti, that is caused by the discipline of Shastra, is called Vaidhi bhakti, because it has its origin in Vaidhi pravritti. Very important to appreciate Vaidhi, then we can appreciate what is Raganuga, unless we understand what is Vaidhi clearly. So Vaidhi is this following the Shastras very strictly. It's described that Vaidhi is actually governed by the quality of fear. One is fearful, therefore he performs the rules and regulations. But this is not going to melt the heart beyond a very high stage. Vaidhi bhakti can bring us perhaps to the realm of Vaikuntha even, the realm of liberation. Vaikuntha is like a glorified liberated state. So that stage can be achieved. Brajanath, I will inquire about the characteristics of spontaneous attraction rag a little later. Now will you kindly describe the characteristics of vidhi? Babaji, the Shastras have prescribed regulative duties called vidhi and have prohibited certain forbidden activities called nisheda. The prescribed duty, Vaidhi dharma, for the jivas is to follow all the regulations and to avoid all the prohibited activities. Quite clear. Brajanath, from your explanation, it seems as if Vaidhi dharma consists of the rules and regulations of all the Shastras, but the jivas of Kali Yuga are weak and short-lived, so they cannot study the prescriptions and prohibitions of all the Shastras and then ascertain Vaidhi dharma. Do the Shastras indicate how we can determine vidhi nisheda briefly and practically? Bhaktivinoda Thakur is trying to give us something very special here. Babaji, it is written in the Padma Purana 42:103 and Narada Pancharatna 4:223, Smartavya Shatatam Vishnu Vishmartavya Nagatuchit. Sarve Vidhi Nisheda Syur Etayo Eva Kinkaraha. Always remember Vishnu and never forget him. All the other prohibitions and recommendations are servitors of these two instructions. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. We're beginning to understand what is the essential initial stage of bhakti within the realm of the regulative path of Vaidhi bhakti. And it's also saying that by careful practice of this Vaidhi bhakti, then that can be, then the jewel of Rag Marg can descend in the heart of the practitioner if he's practicing that Vaidhi bhakti sincerely. But there are different conceptions here. We have to look at the very subtle nuances between Vaidhi and Rag. The purport is that the arrangement of all the various kinds of vidhi and nisheda within the Shastras are based on these two basic sentences. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Always remember Krishna is the positive and never forget Krishna is the negative. Duty, vidhi, is ascertained to be that which makes one constantly remember Bhagavan. The forbidden acts, nisheda, are those which make one forget. Remember Bhagavan Sri Vishnu constantly throughout your life. This is the basic prescription, vidhi, and the arrangements of varnashram and so on for the maintenance of the jivas are subject to it. Never forget Krishna. This nisheda is the basic prohibition. Everything else, such as abandoning sinful activities, avoiding the tendency to divert one's attention from Krishna, Krishna Bhakira Mukata, and atoning for sinful activities are all subordinate to this basic vidhi nisheda. Therefore, all the rules and prohibitions described in the Shastras are eternal servants of the rule to remember Krishna constantly, and the prohibition is to never forget him. So these are the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. Whereas in Rag Marg, for example, there's no question of making an effort even, because you've actually fallen in love with Krishna, so to speak, in your heart. Raganuga, you've cultivated this vision, this focus on the sweetness and speciality of Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar. Whereas Vaidhi Bhakti will have a different focus from the very beginning. Therefore, all the rules and prohibitions described in the Shastras are eternal servants of the rule to remember Krishna constantly, and the prohibition is to never forget him. It follows that the regulation to remember Krishna is the fundamental principle amongst all the regulations of Varnashram and other such institutions. Shri Kamasha Uvacha Mukhya Bahura Padayabhyai Purushasya Ramai Saha Chatvaro Jagnir Vana Gunai Vipradaya Pratak Ya Esham Purusham Sakshat Atma Pravam Ishwaram Na Vavantya Avanjananti Stanad Brasta Pratyanti Adaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5-3. Sri Chamasa said, the Brahmanas came into existence from the mouth of the primordial Sri Vishnu, the Kshatriyas from his arms, the Vaishyas from his thighs, and the Sudras from his feet. These four Varnas were born along with their particular characteristics, as were the four specific ashrams. A person living amongst these Varnas and ashrams becomes intoxicated by his high social position, Varna, and spiritual position, ashram, and fails to worship his Ishtadev, Bhagavan Sri Vishnu, or even disrespects him. Such a person falls down from his position in the system of Varna and ashram, loses all his prestige, and then takes birth in the lower species. So this is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, that within this Varna ashram system, the potential to become very proud of one's position within the Varna ashram social order. This is there, and when pride is there, when I'm comparing myself with others in society, etc., when that consideration is strong, then this mood of pride will easily come in the heart, this competitive nature. So now this is going to be unpacked further. This is fascinating. Brajanath, why doesn't everyone who follows the regulations of Varnashram practice Krishna Bhakti? So, simple question. Babaji, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that amongst all those who follow the regulations of Shastra, only those who develop faith in Bhakti are eligible to engage in Bhakti. So Varnashram doesn't necessarily indicate Bhakti, but Bhakti has an opportunity to be taught more easily within the Varnashram institution. It gives support, but it doesn't necessitate that Bhakti will necessarily flourish. This is the first proposition that Ramananda Rai gives to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Godavari when he's asking what is the perfection of life. And Ramananda Rai, he says this Varnashram system, but What is Mahaprabhu's objection to this? He said, this is only external. This is still just about the body. It's not about the bhav or the mood of attraction to Krishna. Therefore, it cannot be sustained beyond the bodily experience of it. Understand? To have it, to connect with the eternal nature of the jiva requires practice in this specific path of bhakti. Actually, not even just Vaidhi Bhakti, but Raganuga Bhakti. Those who are not attracted towards the regulations of material life, nor do they renounce material life. They are not attracted. I'll just read this again. Srila Rupa Goswami explains that amongst all those who follow the regulations of Shastra, only those who develop faith in bhakti are eligible to engage in bhakti. They are not attracted towards the regulations of material life, nor do they renounce material life. So neither way. Rupa Goswami says like this. One who is not too attached from material life and not too detached from material life can actually manage his development of Krishna Bhakti. If you're too renounced, then it turns into very dry renunciation. And obviously, if you're too attached, you're going to get submerged by material desires. Rather, they follow the ways of ordinary civilized life to maintain their livelihood, and at the same time practice the sadhana of Shuddha Bhakti with faith. In other words, you're not doing anything dramatically extreme either way. You're following what is necessary for your functioning in whatever ashram you're in, to provide if you're in family life, etc., to take care of your dependents, and you're not suddenly going to renounce that, but internally something can be happening, but externally we should follow the civilized codes of behavior in life generally. A civilized jiva becomes qualified to engage in bhakti as a result of sukriti accumulated in the course of many lives. There are three types of such faithful people: the kanishta, neophyte; the madhyam, intermediate bhakta; and the uttam, high exalted bhakta. Brajanath, it is said in Bhagavad Gita that 4 kinds of people perform bhakti: artha, those who are distressed; jignashu, the inquisitive; atharthi, those who desire wealth; and gyanis, those who are searching for knowledge of the Absolute. What kind of bhakti are they qualified for? So we're starting from the very beginning here. We're going through the idea of Vaidhi Bhakti and who's qualified even to perform Vaidhi Bhakti from the first place. Babaji, when they associate with saintly sadhus, everything comes down to this. Their distress, their inquisitiveness, their desire for wealth, and their desire for knowledge are removed, and they develop faith in unalloyed devotional service. Only by meeting someone whose faith in devotional service is strong will we make progress. This is 100% necessary. This is what has been told throughout this whole Jaiva dharma, actually. Then they immediately become qualified for engaging in bhakti. The prominent examples of this are Gajendra, Sonika, and the other rishis in Naimisharanya, Dhruva and the 4 Kumaras respectively. So we know this from Bhagavad Gita. These 4 types of persons who are eligible for bhakti, and the description of this. Brajanath, do devotees attain liberation at all? Babaji, there are 5 kinds of liberation. Salokya, to live on the same planet as Bhagavan. Sharsti, to have the same opulences as Bhagavan. Samipya, to have constant association with Bhagavan. Sarupya, to attain bodily features similar to Bhagavan's. And Sayuja, to become one with Bhagavan. Bhaktas of Sri Krishna do not accept Sayuja Mukti at any cost, because it is blatantly opposed to the principles of bhakti. Salokya, Sharsti, Samipya, and Sarupya are not fully opposed to bhakti. These are the liberations of Vaikuntha. But they still retain some adverse elements. The bhaktas of Krishna also completely reject these four kinds of liberation that are manifest in Sri Narayan's abode. So again, Ramananda Rai is rejecting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting this proposal by Ramananda Rai, these four liberated conditions. In some circumstances, these forms of liberation provide comforts and opulences, whereas in their matured stages, they guide one towards prema bhakti. They can assist towards prema bhakti if we don't get distracted by the affluence, we can say, this taranga rangini, the pleasures of liberation, the material pleasures it can afford. If their ultimate result is only comfort and opulence, bhaktas should simply reject them. This is not our quest to find comfort and opulence in this world, because then we'll certainly forget Krishna. We've just discussed smartavya shatadam Vishnu, vishmartavya nagata chit, always to remember Krishna and never to forget Krishna. What to speak of liberation? Even Narayan's prasad does not appeal to the unalloyed bhaktas of Sri Krishna. Sri Narayan and Sri Krishna have the same fundamental form and nature, Swarup, from the point of view of Siddhanta. But from the viewpoint of Rasa, Sri Krishna's super excellent glory is an eternal fact. So from this consideration of Rasa, then everything changes. Brajanath. Is it only those who are born in Aryan families and who follow the regulations of Varnashram who are eligible to engage in bhakti? Babaji, this is a very beautiful sentence. The entire human race is qualified to attain eligibility for bhakti. One time Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said also, he was asked, who is a Vaishnava? Bhaktivinoda Thakur responded, everyone is a Vaishnava. Some know it and some don't know it. But essentially everyone is a Vaishnava because everyone essentially is a servant of the Supreme. Some know that and are practicing to realize that more fully, and others don't know that. And we're all on different stages and different degrees in our realization and practice of this one truth, this service towards the Lord. Brajanath, in that case, it seems that people who are situated in Varnashram have to follow two sets of duties, the regulations of Varnashram and the rules of Shuddha Bhakti, whereas those situated outside Varnashram have only one duty, which is to follow the limbs, angas of Bhakti. This means that people situated in Varnashram have to endeavor more because they have to follow both the material regulations and the spiritual regulations. Why is this? Understand? Babaji, a bhakta who is qualified for Shuddha Bhakti may be situated in Varnashram, but his only duty is to follow the anga of Bhakti, and then all his worldly duties are fulfilled automatically if we follow Bhakti. There is no fault in neglecting worldly duties where they are independent of Bhakti or opposed to it. If some activity, even though it's within the Varnashram, if it's opposed to our development of Bhakti, it can be neglected. A qualified Bhakti is by his very nature not inclined to neglect prescribed duties or to perform forbidden activity. If in spite of this he accidentally commits some sinful activity, he does not have to perform the penances that are prescribed in the rules governing karma. When bhakti resides in the heart, sins that the bhakti commits by chance do not create a lasting impression, and they are destroyed very easily and quickly. That is why bhaktas do not need to perform any separate penance. Bhakti itself will incinerate those sins, klesh agni, incinerate those sufferings. Brajanath, how can a qualified bhakta repay his debts to the devas and others? Babaji, It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that those who are under the shelter of Bhagavan are not indebted to anyone. Devarshi bhutapta nirnam pitrinam na kinkaro nyam mrini cha rajan sarvatmana ya saranam saranyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41. One who completely surrenders to Bhagavan Mukunda, the affectionate protector of the surrendered souls, no longer remains indebted to the devatas, forefathers, other living beings, kinsmen, or guests. He is not subordinate to anyone, and he is not obliged to serve anyone. Very beautiful verse. The purport of the final instruction of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharma parityaja mam ekam saranam braja, is that Sri Krishna releases one from all sins if he has given up all sorts of duties and comes to his shelter. You understanding everything? Now it's becoming more simple, more clear. The essence of the Gita is that when a person becomes qualified for unalloyed bhakti, he is no longer obliged to follow the regulations of Gyan Shastra and Karma Shastra. On the contrary, he attains all perfection simply by following the path of bhakti. That is why Sri Krishna declares, Name bhakti pranashyati, my bhakta is never vanquished. Therefore this promise of Sri Krishna should be held above all. When Vijay Kumar and Brajnath heard these words, they said, we have no further doubts in our hearts concerning bhakti. We have understood that jnana and karma are of little consequence, and that without the mercy of Bhakti Devi, there is no auspiciousness for the jiva. Prabhu, now please be merciful and make our lives successful by telling us about the angas of Shuddha Bhakti. So we'll discuss this tomorrow. So, very powerful precepts Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given us today, trying to understand clearly with the heart and mind, or mind and heart. First it comes in the mental faculty, and then we bring these truths into the heart region and pray for realization of these truths. So, something for our contemplation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva dharma ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.